We're back at it again with another Battlefront update. Another week and another weekly news update covering all of the latest news surrounding EA Battlefront. This week we're going to be looking at a mixture of different things, such as news of EA removing Battlefront 2 from Origin Basic, and as well some new nasty bugs making their presence pretty well known in the online modes of the game, with one of them literally crashing games for people, yikes. Which, if we're gonna be for real, a Battlefront news video these days not talking about bugs would be literally impossible, especially if all of these ones just popping up. But don't fret, there's gonna be some positive and wholesome stuff in here as well. As always, we'll be covering all of this and more in today's video. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting with story numero uno, which is one that has got plenty of players lately both confused, outraged, disappointed, you name it. And that is in regards to the recent news of EA randomly having decided that it was a good idea to remove Battlefront 2 from Origin Access Basic. For those unaware, Origin Access is basically EA's version of Xbox Game Pass, a subscription service that allows you early access to upcoming games, discounts, and as well a collection of games which includes both EA titles and other games that EA purchased the rights to. However, unlike Xbox Game Pass, there are two tiers with Origin Access, being Basic and Premier. The difference between the two is that Premier has a bit more perks and a larger game catalog, but it costs $20 a month to do. Whereas Basic is only $5, and because of that, far more people are obviously subscribed to that over Premier, especially to play Battlefront 2, which was always on Basic. Unfortunately, it looks like things have since changed, as many Origin Access Basic players reported recently that EA had begun telling them that Battlefront 2 was leaving the Basic tier, and not through an announcement or a press release or anything like that, but just through the Origin browser and a little sentence, and that's about it. And just like that, a few days later, the game was no longer included in the Basic tier game catalog. Instead, it was moved to become an exclusive Premier game title, which, as I pointed out before, a lot less people subscribe to that tier, so this incredibly random move by EA, of course, didn't go too well with the PC community, which itself is already struggling with a lower player base, all due to the recent bannings and having to deal with, hackers. As for why such a decision came out of the blue like this, especially for an old game like Battlefront 2, well, that's just it, no one knows. Now, naturally, some folks did start theorizing that maybe this was EA's way to try to kill off the game, all in an effort to get people to buy Squadrons. Which, while that is a pretty outlandish theory, and I personally don't agree with it, but honestly, then again, these days you can never really know for sure with EA, especially when they shadow removed Battlefront 2 from Origin Access Basic without any sort of announcement or reason as to why in the first place. So it only makes sense on why people would be making up these conspiracy theories, which again hold no truth, but EA being sketchy like this doesn't help their case. But this story doesn't end there, as despite all of that, on the Origin Access website, EA are still advertising Battlefront 2 as being available on both Basic and Premier. And suffice to say, this by itself led to much more confusion. Is EA falsely advertising Battlefront 2 on Origin Access Basic? Which of course would be illegal, but also not the first time they've tried it. New Hope version Stormtrooper on Celebration Edition cover. If not that, but it's still being there, yet randomly removed for a bunch of Origin Access Basic members, but maybe still accessible for others, which again, if that were the case, it would also be illegal. So yeah, like I said, this whole situation is downright confusing and no one in the PC community is happy about it. And EA ignoring everyone's questions about it definitely doesn't make them look any good either. I mean, even if you're an EA fan, then you've got to at least admit that this does look rather sketchy on their part. Now, hopefully we do get some sort of comment or explanation from EA on this, saying that this was all simply a misunderstanding or something soon. Because that's the least they can do to their customers who mostly signed up for Origin Access Basic just to play Battlefront 2. In other news, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic these days in Battlefront 2, which of course is bugs. It seems that ever since DICE put out their last patch to the game, more and more new and sometimes downright game-breaking bugs have begun popping up within Battlefront 2. Some of course aren't all that bad and just, annoying to have to deal with. Like a recently discovered emote wheel bug by Reddit user TheGamerDanYT, who posted about having to deal with this particular glitch on the Xbox version of the game. According to them, despite equipping heroes with emotes, in-game the emote wheel would still show up but with empty slots, even though in the main menu the emotes were shown to be equipped. Again, this isn't a major bug by any means, but still frustrating to deal with. Especially if you're a new player and you unlocked some fun emotes that you want to mess around with. And since we do know that DICE are still fixing some minor bugs here and there, then maybe they can give this one a look too, because I don't think it should be that much work to fix as much as the next bug we're going to be talking about. Because that one is a whole different kind of story, and not even what you'd normally imagine a game-breaking bug would look like in this game. What am I talking about? Well, it's none other than a dreaded ATST spam glitch that another Reddit user, Obi-Wan Kenobi 11, experienced on Crate. According to them, they were playing Battlefront 2 last week like usual, and when a game of Galactic Assault on Crate started, out of nowhere there were hundreds of First Order ATSTs randomly in the middle of the map outside the Crate base. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but dang, that's in no way normal. Obi-Wan Kenobi 11 also said that the ATSTs themselves weren't being used by anyone and were just stationary, just standing there. So while it was super weird and pretty bad at first, it wasn't that bad until a little later. Because afterwards, they ended up causing a major problem within the game as they blocked the pathway for the two AT-M6s from continuing to progress, which really screwed up with the internal coding and resulted in the game crashing for everyone. Yeah, not a good look for DICE. Especially if they think leaving the state of the game like this is in any way acceptable at all. Personally, I've never seen this kind of crazy bug myself, and there's always a chance it could maybe even be hacker related. But even then, that would still be just as bad considering DICE banned so many innocent players last month, all in an effort to get rid of hackers. And yet now all of those innocent players are gone, but the hackers are still around. Something's got to give. Lastly, I figured I'd end things on a more positive note, as lately a lot of players have noticed and taken a liking to the Japanese voice option available in the game, which seriously adds a new dimension of coolness to some characters. Take a listen for yourself.
Yeah. できるかな。疾風のごとき攻撃こそ最大の防御だ。まあシスの論理だな。
その度胸は認めてやる。叩き潰せ。 を与えてやれ。降伏すれば楽に死なせてやろうじゃない。お前の悲鳴はまるで音楽のように心地よく響くが
借りを返す時が来た。お前の恐怖を感じるぞ。地図の力は強大だ。俺に勝てるはずがない。
馬鹿げた念力と古臭い武器でブラスターに勝てるわけがねえ。いいぞ。でも調子に乗るなよ。
隠れ続けることはできないぞ。愚かなだけでなく不器用なやつめ。フォースを侮辱する者は許さん。謝罪を受け入れよう。
腰抜けめ。
Man, that Japanese Grievous is something else. And the funny thing is, the Japanese voice option has always been in Battlefront 2 since the beginning, but it's strangely only been until now that a lot of people have actually finally noticed it and are really talking about it. Which, not surprisingly, could easily be due to the lack of new game content, but hey. Either way, it is still nice to see some praise go toward DICE these days, despite of course all of the other numerous problems that are plaguing Battlefront 2. The only downer is that the Japanese voice option isn't available in all versions of Battlefront 2, with some folks having to resort in trying to mod their games with it, and honestly, after listening to it, how can you blame them? There's something about Star Wars in the Japanese language that just works. Until the next time, that will do it for your Battlefront update. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but also keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.